What's going on, fellow A-plusers? It is I, your host, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new video today, man, doing some double duty. I've been sitting contemplating whether or not I wanted to go ahead and discuss this news with you guys today. But honestly, as a Star Wars fan, as a tired and exhausted Star Wars fan, I needed to talk about this car wreck that seemingly continues to be Lucasfilm. Now, listen, I've been a big supporter of Lucasfilm. I think despite of everything that's been happening with the sequel trilogy, how some of the fandom has really turned toxic over the years. I have tried to do my best to certainly be as patient with Lucasfilm as I possibly can, especially in regards to releasing of brand new movies, learning from certainly your past mistakes, if you will. But at this point, this just makes me laugh and it just makes me wonder how much of a joke this is kind of turning out to be. But the same thing keeps happening over and over and over again. This time, a movie that officially has not even been announced by Lucasfilm, but some reports have come out that, hey, behind the scenes, there is a movie certainly being together. A movie that has not even officially been announced by Lucasfilm has unfortunately lost another writer. If it's not a director, it's a writer. But regardless, another one bites the dust, ladies and gentlemen. This comes to us from Deadline.com saying Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson depart as scribes for secret Star Wars pick. Charmin Obey Chinoy still aboard as the director, though. Look, I'm a big Damon Lindelof fan. I truly have enjoyed a lot of his work. The shots that he takes, the risks that he certainly takes, the social commentary he's not afraid to dive into. And I just think he takes a lot of great chances. And so I'm always a big fan of Damon Lindelof's work. So this honestly cuts deep for me in the regards to this one. It says Lucas' top secret Star Wars movie to be directed by Charmin Obey Chinoy has lost its screenwriters in Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson. Deadline can confirm. This was a report that earlier today has been gaining steam. I've been seeing other sites certainly running with it. I did highlight it on our Facebook page, but I've honestly have been waiting for an actual reliable source like a Variety or Deadline to go ahead and confirm this, and Deadline certainly seems to be. It says details as to the film's plot are still under wraps, though we understand that Obey Chinoy remains at the helm, so they haven't lost the director. With further details on the project to be unveiled at next month's Star Wars Celebration in London. I'm very much under the assumption that they were going to announce this movie at Star Wars Celebration. And it wouldn't surprise me if they still plan on announcing this. It's a source that suggests that the film is still in a solid position to be one of the first out of the gate for the franchise, if not the first. On the heels of The Rise of Skywalker, it says Disney has in the interim prioritized building out the Star Wars universe on TV with hit shows like The Mandalorian. While the specific reasoning behind the departure of Lindelof and Gibson hasn't been disclosed, the former hinted at the possibility in an interview with Slashfilm earlier this month. The Slashfilm article is something we did drop on our Facebook page if you want to go ahead and read it. It dropped sometime last week if you want to scroll back and see it. It was literally an exclusive interview from Slashfilm. We didn't highlight it on A Plus Hero Report because I wanted to see how further this was going to develop. And lo and behold, Tuesday morning, here we are. This is what he said in the Slashfilm interview, though. This is from Damon Lindelof himself. He says, I will just say this, that for reasons that I can't go into this Sunday morning on this day, the degree of difficulty is extremely, extremely, extremely high in regards to the idea of having to put together a Star Wars movie. He says, if the film can't be great, it shouldn't exist. That's all I'll say because I have the same association with Star Wars as you do, which is it's the first movie I saw sitting in my dad's lap, 4 years old, May of 1977. I think it's possible that sometimes when you hold something in such high reverence and esteem, you start to get in the kitchen and you just go, maybe I shouldn't be cooking. Maybe I should just be eating. We'll just leave it at that point. And so, it does seem as though, listen, maybe we should have seen the red flags a long time ago. You know what I mean when it comes to this. Just based off of what Damon Lindelof is certainly saying in here, from at least from the Slashfilm interview, the idea of just how difficult it is to go ahead and create a Star Wars movie. I am kind of curious, even though he does compare it in the sense that he has such a fondness for his franchise. Sometimes I think maybe you can kind of get in your own way because of the love of the franchise that you have, and maybe not necessarily put your best foot forward, or if it's not to that sense of perfection that you certainly view it as, maybe you shouldn't be tackling it at all. And I kind of appreciate that mindset, and I do wish that other movie makers certainly have that mindset as well. Not to say that filmmakers go out there to make crappy movies. I'm sure they certainly do put their best foot forward, and sometimes it certainly doesn't land. But I'm just saying I appreciate Damon Lindelof's mindset in the sense of, look, creating these Star Wars movies is not easy whatsoever. You want these movies to certainly be perfect, but maybe I have such a high regard for it. Maybe I'm kind of getting in certainly in my own way. I kind of take this as two different things here that he could possibly say. One, in one regards here, the idea of how trying to make a Star Wars movie is difficult is extremely, extremely, extremely high. Listen, that could just be maybe the difficulties of having to work with a Kathleen Kennedy, maybe to have to work with other people over at Lucasfilm that maybe just make your job so incredibly hard because of the corporate overhead of maybe hitting quotas, things that they certainly maybe want in this film that you don't necessarily agree with. This is Disney's film at the end of the day, so to have those creative differences and that push and pull of a studio, I think is probably normal. But when it comes to the Star Wars franchise, I think that they've shown an overprotectiveness of it to where it's truly hindered them from allowing these filmmakers to just simply create the movies that they certainly want to go ahead and create. So maybe in that regards, he could simply be stating why it's extremely, extremely high difficulty to get one of these movies out, especially when it comes to a big franchise and you got a big corporate overhead sort of looking at everything you're doing. So maybe there was some friction with Kathleen Kennedy and everybody else over at Lucasfilm and just made his job that much more difficult. Or it could simply just be, yeah, I think a lot of us would probably say it's pretty hard to make a Star Wars movie that's successful in today's time period, in today's day and age. But I also do think that sometimes I wonder if Damon Lindelof can maybe be a little bit too hard on himself, right? I think when you look at yourself in retrospective or have that sort of self view of yourself, maybe he's a little bit too hard on himself. And because of the fact that he loves Star Wars, maybe he put together an incredible script that everybody around him certainly loves, but maybe Lindelof is just a little bit too strict and hard on himself, and just doesn't think that this movie is as perfect as he wants to be, and has sort of officially bowed out, if that certainly makes any sense. So those are like my two interpretations of what he's certainly saying here. Maybe you guys can certainly take more away from that than what I certainly did, but it still very much seems as though this movie is certainly going to happen, regardless if Damon Lindelof and them are still part of this film. With that being said, though, I do think it's pretty interesting here. Like, even if he departed, it seems as though some of the articles that I've read is that after they dropped off the script and delivered the script, several days later, they wind up actually departing. So he might have actually been away from the project, for a couple of weeks, a couple of months already. I don't know exactly when the script was supposed to be delivered, but he did stay on for a couple days before certainly departing after he wind up dropping off the script. Maybe he got some notes back necessarily from Lucasfilm that doesn't wasn't necessarily on board with in regards to maybe some of the changes to the script. But listen, I would say if the director is still on board, I still expect them to go ahead and put this film together. It wouldn't surprise me if Damon Lindelof and Britt Gibson actually get sort of writing credits as they wind up bringing somebody else in to kind of maybe do a second or third run, certainly at the script. So I'm kind of hoping that whatever Damon Lindelof and them have at least created, that some of that will certainly continue and carry over. But it's a little bit bummer, man, that if Deadline is confirming this, I wonder if Damon Lindelof will come out and say some things on top of the slash film report that he wind up doing already. But I hope that something of what he created at least is going to certainly be in this movie. But it does lower my expectations a little bit, you know. It is just one of those things where it's like the same old, man. This is just becoming insanity at this point. The same thing just continues to keep on happening. And when something like that continues to occur, man, you got to look at your head honchos. You got to look at the people that you've kind of put in charge to kind of run this course. And listen, I'm going to say something here too. You know, there have been a lot of people ousting for Kathleen Kennedy for years, ever since The Last Jedi. I personally was a fan of The Last Jedi. I don't think it's a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's a solid and enjoyable Star Wars film. They really lost me personally when it comes to The Rise of Skywalker, some of the decisions that they had in regards to that movie, trying to retcon things, just not necessarily following the plan that they certainly, well, they clearly didn't have a plan at all. So a lot of this stuff for some people started for The Last Jedi, for others, Rise of the Skywalker. And then when you started seeing a lot of the upcoming projects that were announced, getting the fan base really hyped, naming directors and writers attached to stuff, actually putting promotions together, marketing videos and stuff to hype up people joining the Star Wars franchise, and you not capitalizing or delivering on any of that stuff, it's super disappointing. And you want to talk about the idea of losing your Star Wars fan base. Like I'm probably like the last Kathleen Kennedy defender on earth. It's one of those things where she has had such an incredible sort of career. I mean, the fact that even George Lucas, the man himself, put Kathleen Kennedy in charge, for me, does carry a lot of weight in regards to the fact that he trusted her and felt that if there was anybody that was going to helm this franchise, it was certainly her. And her track record certainly showcased that. So the fact that we're now here, I definitely have probably maybe given Kathleen Kennedy maybe more opportunities than she probably deserves. But I think where people start to lose me with Kathleen Kennedy is when they start disrespecting her in a personal manner. When you start disrespecting what she has sort of achieved in her lifetime and the movies that she's helped bolster because of her attachment to them. When you start getting very personal, and it's no longer a creative criticism and it turns into very much a misogyny, then you and I are not on the same page. I'm coming at Kathleen Kennedy in very much a creative standpoint, in the sense that while I believe she is a good producer, I do think that she certainly struggles when it comes to the creative side of things, and truly should just not have any guidance when it comes to the creative side of things. As a producer, I definitely want you to be in the room when everybody agrees on the story, and it's like, okay, let's find the people that will fit this project perfectly. That's her role as a producer. And it seems as though since she's taken on Lucasfilm, even that has become a much bigger challenge for her. So I am kind of curious as to where the disconnect is happening with all of this. At the end of the day, you're supposed to be sitting down with these people that you're having agreements with. And before you even make the agreement, you're supposed to be making sure that everybody is on the same page. The vision that you have should be the same vision that the directors have and that the writers have. You all need to be in agreement. And when you shake hands and say somebody's coming on board, I don't see why there should certainly be as many issues as they certainly have had, unless there's something going on bigger behind the scenes at Lucasfilm that people just are not telling us, right? Like, are Lucasfilm making just drastic and significant changes to the script that are just obnoxiously wrong and should just not happen whatsoever to make some of these people just kind of step back and, like, you know what? I don't necessarily want to be a part of this anymore. And, like, good luck to whatever changes you wind up making to our script or whatever direction that you certainly might be going in. It's just not a good look, man. And look, it's one of those things where at this point, I'm personally, as a Star Wars fan, as much as I've supported Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm, sometimes you need a regime change. And while I know a lot of people certainly have been asking for her to certainly be fired and stuff, I don't think she's going to be fired. I honestly do think that her contract expires here sometime this year. It would not surprise me if she actually retires on her own by the end of the year. But this is not the legacy that Kathleen Kennedy has definitely wanted for herself. And I guess also the disrespect that other people have for Kathleen Kennedy. I think what also gets to me is that they never give her props for the things that she has done successfully, right? Like, they always want to go ahead and bring her down whenever something negative goes wrong. So again, there are definitely avenues of Kathleen Kennedy hate and why she shouldn't be a part of Star Wars that I'm just not on that same path and road as you guys are. I definitely have my own reasons here, creative criticism wise, as to why I don't necessarily think Kathleen Kennedy should be the president or head of Lucasfilm any longer. At this point, it's like, if you can't put together a movie and that is literally your main job, what are you here for? You're literally just collecting the check and you're not providing the fandom with what they need. Thank God for Dave Filoni and John Favreau, that have given us some great and exciting things when it comes to TV. Shout out to, again, and props to Kathleen Kennedy for being smart enough to put those two people together, being smart enough to give Dave Filoni the opportunity to surround himself with directors, shadowing Ryan Johnson and others to help him become a better live action director so he can grow into the film director that I think a lot of us certainly want. Shout out to Kathleen Kennedy for bringing in Tony Gilroy to go ahead and create a fantastic Andor series and hopefully a great Acolyte series also. So there's definitely some great things that she certainly has done. But God, my God, the miserable sort of Star Wars film slate that we've had within the last couple of years will unfortunately be her downfall, and what I think a lot of people are going to unfortunately remember her for. So, as a Star Wars fan, man, super bummed about this once again. I will be eager to see what happens at Star Wars Celebration. It has my interest. Are you gonna be announcing any movies anymore? Or now that this information has dropped so close to Star Wars Celebration, are you gonna change your mind in regards to what you do reveal at Celebration? Is it all gonna be television and you're gonna wait and sit on your hands when it comes to film and regroup once again? Yeah, a little bit of a bummer if you're a Star Wars fan, man. So, keeping my fingers crossed that we get some Star Wars content in regards to film here rather soon that actually works. Again, they clearly, certainly are still moving ahead with this particular film. For me, I'm just a little bit bummed that it's not going to have the full Damon Lindelof influence that I personally was certainly hoping for. So we'll see what this movie turns out to be if it is in fact announced over at Star Wars Celebration. And once it is, guys, we'll definitely keep you guys posted. But that's my rant for right now. For you Star Wars fans, definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts. And again, listen, if you want to blast Kathleen Kennedy, because she definitely deserves some responsibility for what has certainly happened, please come at it in from a creative standpoint, and not any other derogatory manner. So please go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And until then, guys, do me a big favor as always. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.